We're talking about something quite remarkable as such a change in industry to date, where we've never really had the opportunity to embrace all these other good attributes that businesses are now focused on, but not only are they an addition to business, but they're being implemented into new strategies and plans to increase capacity to operate more responsible businesses. So fortunately, I am thrilled to be a part of this new and ever-growing network that is sustainability, circular economy, and traceability and transparency being one of the key pillars and one of the key priorities that companies continue to talk about and have done so for the past couple of years. As Peter mentioned, we are a new industry body here in Australia, but are far-reaching and have networks across the world, fortunately. And that has been of the benefit of the Australian Circular Fashion Conference. And ACTA, we call ACTA for short, is Australia's first collaborative industry association formed to drive circularity for textiles for full resource efficiency within Australia. Our aim is to offer our stakeholders access to strategic innovation by introducing new tools and resources and creating economically viable future business models with the necessity of building in practical solutions to improve systemic change. Our mission is to formulate these game-changing partnerships with experts to enact change. And we're looking to successfully implement our circular textile economy plan over the next 5 to 10 years in every aspect of the textiles market here in Australia. A quick recap of what we stand for, and that is advocacy, research, innovation, and action. We do advocate on behalf of a number of textile sectors, not only fashion and apparel, but we work more broadly with medical, hospitality, furnishing associations, mattresses, banners and flags, carpets. We do include the work and uniform companies. So as you can imagine, the full gamut of textiles is far broader reaching than just good old fashion, but I guess fashion claims the most limelight given the media attention over the past couple of years. Collective impact, as I mentioned, these are a good aspect of how many industry players that we do have here in Australia. And through that, we enable a lot of these members to come under the one umbrella, which is ACTA. And we really unify that voice, giving everybody a chance to be represented independently, but also collectively. As we come together, we can speak the same message, and that is creating a circular system for textiles and a circular economy for Australia. Areas to address. Over the past couple of months, we have had a lot more attention, particularly given that businesses in 2021 are restoring back to somewhat of normal activities. So 5 areas to address. We've heard that there is a tremendous need for the importance of partnerships, and this is to overcome and decompetitify some of these challenges that companies are facing if they were to operate in isolation. So it is through transparency and traceability as well. Number 2, mapping a national framework or ecosystem. We do see that there are a lot more questions being asked, particularly in the past couple of months and even through just general calls and meetings, the lack of a framework or an ecosystem here in Australia. We do have emerging solution providers coming through, but we're not able to sort of pinpoint or relate where everybody has their part to play. But we do know we need to see this so we can enact a much more cohesive approach for where everybody can have a part to play. Local regenerative culture. Now, so it leans definitely into what Woolmark and Cotton Australia were speaking about, and a lot more companies here are particularly interested in that, I suppose, where their fibres have been sourced from, and there's a huge local focus back onto our local agricultural system. Number 4, advocacy for supportive government policies and strategies. We've touched on it already through some of the conversations, the UNCEC, and we know particularly in Australia, the federal government, state and local governments are actively investing in how they can best understand the flows of material textiles in the country, and clothing waste now features on the federal environment waste policy list. And number 5, textiles data and reporting. So whilst Australia is actively catching up and we're able to determine that we have an area to address, particularly this modern waste stream, we don't have as much data or information as what the Northern Hemisphere has been able to obtain in the past several years. So we've definitely been working hard over the past 12 months, and we're now able to collect and report on more information. How to improve and qualify better data. Before I jump on the statistics of what we've been able to obtain thus far, where we're going with the information, the data, and particularly what we've gathered across our projects, which are state-based, that has been with Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia, hopefully Western Australia soon, and new developments happening in Victoria. The ability to qualify better data has really sort of pinpointed where these opportunities now align to better information through either transparency, traceability, labelling, information for consumers, brands communicating with their supply chain far better. So we do know that seeking out better standards, particularly here in Australia, and that would be leveraging some of those benchmarks that we're seeing in the European countries for where textiles now lie. Accurate labelling, as I mentioned, to provide consumers with more information. We are seeing a lot more of the, I suppose, labelling coming to media's attention in other industries such as plastics and foods. Improved auditing systems for across the state and local governments. In the past, it's been wildly underreported where textiles feature in terms of information data gathering. So how can we raise the bar there? Perhaps QR coding and tracing for accurate fibre compositions, as it's been mentioned here, or sort of the blockchain technology and other ways to be able to obtain greater detail and further, I suppose, assistance through the supply chains and communicating that information effectively. And overall, some of these better tools that are now coming to light to collect the better data. So again, this is just going to be a quick recap on some of the statistics that we've been able to gather thus far. So next slide, please. Through ACTA's work in the past 12 months, where we've been lacking in key stats, we've now been able to better understand that we're importing over 1 million tonne of textiles into Australia every single year. And this is across a number of different sectors, not just apparel. Sadly, 800,000 tonnes, including apparel, is going to landfill each year. So we're recycling less than 1% of our textiles that we know of. There's a huge export rate. There is some reuse and repair. There's also resale in country, but we have been able to highlight where, I suppose, where those greater needs are for industry to really step in. We've now been able to go back and look at some of the statistics that were now dated in Australia. There was one that was flying around a couple of years ago that around 27 kilograms or 23 to 27 kilograms of textiles consumed per person in Australia. We've been able to obtain lately in 2021 with the most current data, 20 kilograms of textiles are consumed per Aussie per capita here in this country. And of that, 20 tonnes are ending up in landfill every 10 minutes. We've been able to assess that the previous information of six tonnes ending up in landfill every 10 minutes from about, I think it was 2018, 2019, has now surmounted to 20 tonnes every 10 minutes. And that is inclusive of all textiles in Australia. So we know what we're churning through the information, also the material and resource quite quickly without being able to really understand, I suppose, what the pathways of intervention are and how can we best utilise it at the highest possible value and treat it as a resource or a commodity. So with ACTA, we are working, as I mentioned, across a broad sector of textile users, and most actively we're working with government to be able to obtain accurate information and data. And we're proud to say a lot of that information is available in the public domain. That's how we work. We don't work with anybody just to have it popped on a bookshelf for them to hide away. But in saying that we want to move towards a circular system and create a circular textiles economy by 2030, we do know that there are several ways to get about that, and that's creating market demand for recovered materials. We need to be able to support the likes of what Woolmark and Cotton Australia are actively championing in regenerative fibres and alternative sustainable solutions, but how do we offer the market competitive advantage to be able to opt in rather than opt out? Definitely closing the loop, and this is through business models and consumer behaviours, not just through supply chain. So we do know that there is a lot more work to be done in campaigning and getting the messaging and education and awareness through both, I suppose, both ends of the market, through industry and consumer, and measuring action. So as I mentioned, there's a new target for clothing waste, clothing textile waste on the Minister's environment list here in Australia. And there's also tentative measures or targets for 80% textile reduction by 2030 in our national federal waste policy. And through that, ACTA is, again, working closely with government to align how these strategies and new policies are being designed and developed can be beneficial to industry, and industry has just as much say in guiding their future. And I'll just quickly throw to Brooke, because in a way of demonstrating what collaborative opportunity looks like and collective impact, Brooke, through Cotton Australia, has just completed a really interesting program with cotton in far north Queensland. So Brooke, if you want to just quickly highlight a couple of words from your project.
Sure, I'll be really quick. Thanks, Camille. I guess we're one of the sorts of groups that Camille likes to work with who's not on the bookshelf. We're out there doing, and that's really, I guess, the farmer organisation in us. But just quickly wanted to share a really practical example. We launched this project a couple of weeks ago, and basically what we've done is take cotton textiles at their end of life, 100% cotton textiles. We've shredded them up, added some compost to them, and then we've applied them back onto a cotton farm as a trial to see whether or not we can get a benefit to soil health. So we're looking for increased microbial activity, water retention, carbon capture, those sorts of factors that we hope will see a scalable solution for cotton textiles at their end of life going forward here in Australia. So we're really hopeful we'll get some positive results. We're going to plant a cotton crop into this paddock come October, and then we'll also be doing some assessments on the crop and yield, etc. So just wanted to quickly share that example, and thanks very much, Camille, for the opportunity.
No worries, thanks, Brooke. And that's just one of many projects that fellow industry associations and academia and other NGOs are working on in Australia to better understand what our material flow and consumption can look like if we're no longer exporting. Fortunately, there's an advantage of how we've got natural wool and cotton in our own country, and we are the provider of the natural resource, but we are also working on other programs with industry. So next slide, please. At the moment, we have a brand new project that is underway and has just commenced at the start of this year, and we have up until January 2023. And that is called Circular Threads, where we're developing a national uniform and workwear stewardship program with probably about 12 or 15 of the largest manufacturers, suppliers and distributors of uniform and workwear here in Australia. And this product stewardship program is going to be somewhat of a case study to pass on knowledge and learnings also to the fashion industry, because we know that there are a lot of similarities, but there are also a lot of more challenging ways to be able to enact product stewardship in fashion as opposed to uniform workwear, given that uniform and workwear have higher consistency, higher volumes. It's a B2B market rather than a B2C. And there's a greater opportunity there to intervene and perhaps provide a closed system for these particular products. But nonetheless, we're eager to provide those learnings as we develop a business case, and also how we can implement a program like this come the end of 2023, working with industry. In addition to product stewardship, as we work more closely with industry and pulling those out of their silos to enact collaboration and partnership, we've been seed funded by several state government departments here in Australia to create the Australian Textiles Network, which is an exciting new program with up to capacity of 25 members from any particular textile user or category. And we're going to be guiding them over 12 months through a comprehensive program to better understand circular economy processes and systems and how it relates particularly to their business, and also how we guide them on action plan projects of where they can enact change directly for a priority of a number of items in their business as we guide and mentor them and coach them. And the beauty of this is we have a steering committee that is governed by several of our state government partners, including fellow industry experts, where we can potentially intervene with grant funding and assist some of these projects to be further outreaching just beyond the company's transformations and changes. So we're really excited to be able to see how we can bring industry together in a more cohesive way over a 12-month program. And it will be the start of an ongoing annual program. So we're just about to launch this one. It's been a bit of a labour of love, but nonetheless, it'll be Australia's first textiles network. A quick snapshot, and I do have a much longer slideshow presentation for those who may be open to seeing a little bit more information about ACTA. But as I mentioned, we're working with state governments here in Australia at the moment. We do have a completed report called Thread Count, which was undertaken with the New South Wales Environmental Protection Authority end of last year. And that's where we've been able to attain most of our data and extrapolate it per capita to Australia. We also have just completed a circular textiles action plan for Sydney Council. So it's a cluster of organisation of councils here in Sydney. And we're also developing a textiles action plan for the state of Queensland, which is an ongoing project up until mid next year. And also a circular textiles economy where we can unplug the opportunities and really understand what textiles look like for a smaller state here in Australia. So we're working with Green Industry South Australia over there. In addition, and this is where it all started. Fortunately, I am looking forward to running a face-to-face event in October this year in Canberra. And the Australian Circular Fashion Conference will be in its third edition. It'll be the biggest yet we're going to hold to date. As we can imagine, events didn't run last year, so it's been some time since 2019's event and 2021's event. But we're thrilled to be able to bring this back to industry and offer a real chance to bring networking and collaboration together as we instigate new partnerships and invite new speakers to come along. And the conference is available to all industry representatives and members, and we work closely with academia. So the conference is coming back this year, and that's where ACTA really originated from when we began the conference.